Bubba Wallace just gave one of the most honest answers you'll hear from a NASCAR driver this year. And it has nothing to do with race strategy. It's about how he handles the hate online. And with the regular season winding down, this comes at a pretty important moment for him. And hey, real quick, if you are a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. So here's what happened. Bubba Wallace spoke with reporters at Richmond Raceway this past Friday, and he opened up about his relationship with social media. And honestly, it's not a great one right now. Wallace said he stayed off social media for about the first 4 months of the 2026 season, maybe even longer than that. That's a huge chunk of time for someone as high profile as he is to just step away. But here's the thing. He didn't come back because he wanted to reconnect with racing talk or see what people were saying about him on track. No, he came back for a much simpler reason. He wanted to keep up with his friends. In his own words, Wallace put it like this. You can only go through the banking app and photos app so many times where you want to see what your friends are doing. You know, that's a pretty relatable line, honestly. When you're avoiding something, you start running out of other things to check on your phone. Now, here's an important detail. Even though Wallace came back to social media for personal reasons, he's still staying away from his professional page. He's also avoiding a lot of the 23XI racing accounts and fan pages, the exact spots where criticism tends to show up the most. So it's not really a full return, it's more like a partial one on his own terms. What happened next is worth breaking down too. Before Wallace decided to just disconnect from his professional accounts, he tried the usual approach a lot of us would try: muting people, unfollowing them, blocking them outright. But he said that method just doesn't work long term. Why? Because new negative posts keep showing up no matter how many people you block. Here's how he explained it. Yeah, you're never catching up. It is what it is. That's a pretty blunt way to put it. And honestly, it makes sense. You can't outblock an entire internet. So instead of trying to manage every single comment, Wallace shifted his approach completely. And that's when he brought up the one question he now uses to filter out the noise. When he does end up reading negative comments, he asks himself something simple. Has the person writing it ever actually climbed into a race car? In his words, I mean, yeah, it's just when you sit there and you read that stuff and you tell yourself, has anybody ever climbed in a race car? So the words really don't matter, but that's not going to stop it. No, that's part of it. And that really sums up his mindset. He's not saying the criticism disappears. He's not saying it stops. He's just choosing not to let it carry the same weight anymore. That question really highlights the gap between typing something out from behind a screen and actually strapping into a NASCAR Cup Series car. We're talking about a car that weighs around 3,400 pounds, running speeds above 180 miles an hour. That's the kind of physical and mental pressure Wallace is dealing with on a weekly basis all season long. Now let's talk about where Wallace actually stands heading into the final stretch of the regular season, because this context matters a lot. Wallace currently sits 14th in the NASCAR Cup Series playoff standings. He's 39 points ahead of Austin Cindric, who's sitting in 16th. So there's a cushion there, but it's not one he can afford to get comfortable with. On top of that, Wallace qualified 6th for Saturday night's Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway. That's a solid starting spot, and it gives him a real chance to add to his points total before the regular season officially wraps up. Every finish matters right now. The article makes it clear. Wallace needs strong results to lock in his spot heading into the playoffs. So while he's dealing with all this noise online, he's still got a job to do on the track, and that job is far from finished. And that's really the bigger picture here. Wallace's comments show just how much social media has become part of the pressure that high-profile NASCAR drivers deal with, on top of everything happening on the racetrack. He's dealt with heavy criticism throughout his career. But right now, heading toward the playoff cutoff, he's choosing to keep his focus on racing instead of the comment section. So here's a question for you guys watching. Do you think Wallace's "has anybody climbed in a race car" mindset is a smart way to filter out criticism, or do you think drivers need a different approach to handle the pressure that comes with social media? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe to NASCAR Nation News. We've got a lot more coming as this playoff race heats up.